because of the technology now, and it's easier. Like I understand years ago where you can afford to get artwork or you can afford to do certain things because we're all working people, right? I get that. But now with the technology, put some effort behind it. Like my pitch Bible, because I come from, buying an acquisition of movies and TV series and so on, I kind of have an idea what people want, at least in
Mhm.
my mind, right? So
When I'm talking to people I don't know very well, sometimes that they want to know what leverage you have for the project. Like, are there any known actors? Are there any, and just getting someone interested in looking at a pitch. Sometimes it has to do with nice artwork as well. You got a really wow looking, concept that's great. But I guess nowadays it's getting easier to create material that looks good because of all the
yeah,
technology and everything. So if someone's going to get, bottom lining it, if someone's going to get you interested in looking at something, and that's why I say you've kind of already answered it because you got to pique people's
yeah.
curiosity. What is kind of going to differentiate the stuff that probably sits in the weight pile versus the stuff that you're going to want to like look at for a pitch?
One thing is when somebody pitches us something and they go, "This is gonna make a lot of money. This is gonna be the next best thing." Then it's like, okay, obviously they're married to the project, and it's gonna be very hard to criticize or put in my 2 cents, right?
Mhm.
Because obviously they love their project, but when somebody, because of the technology now, and it's easier. Like I understand years ago where you can afford to get artwork or you can afford to do certain things because we're all working people, right? I
Mhm.
get that. But now with the technology, put some effort behind it. Like my pitch Bible, because I come from, buying an acquisition of movies and TV series and so on, I kind of have an idea what people want, at least in
Mhm.
my mind, right? So when I did my pitch Bible, does not sell the movie, sells the concept,
Mhm.
right? And what I mean by that is it's not telling you this movie is compared with this movie or nothing like that, or horror genre makes this one. These are people in the industry. They know what works, what doesn't work. They
Mhm.
know what translates in international and what doesn't, right?
Mhm.
If you get a comedy movie, if it's physical comedy, translates. If it's verbal, it's hard to translate, right?
Right.
So action translates well. Romance is difficult, right? So it depends what the genre is. So if I'm pitching a horror movie, I'm not gonna tell you the box office of the biggest horror. Everybody knows that. You Google. So I concentrated more on the concept itself. Why I think this concept, whether the script is crap or not, the concept, right? I'm pitching you the concept because the concept I'm pitching is not just about my movie. It's
Mhm.
about what's it going to do international and why I think it's going to do that, right?
Right.
So I put a lot of time behind it, and my wife disagreed with me. She goes, "You're concentrating too much on that." But you see all the pictures, you see all the comparisons, you see, sales estimates. They don't mean anything, you know.
Mhm.
They really don't, because reality is, this movie might work today, but it might not work tomorrow,
Mhm.
right? It might work in this territory, but not that territory. So how do we go around that? How do we make it where, what, this is interesting, whether it's going to work here or there. I can make it work in my territory, and this is why. I'm telling you why it's going to work in your territory and his territory, and how it's going to be different in each territory, right?
Right.
So I concentrated more on that than the actual pitch of the project,
Okay. So,
and
and
we'll
when
see if
you
it
say,
backs.
sorry, so when you say concept is what you're focusing on, are you doing kind of concept comparables? Like, if you know that a certain kind of graphic novel or graphic novel story has been a big thing, do you kind of
Not
say,
even close.
okay, okay.
No. So what I'm trying to reinvent the wheel in my own way. I know it
Mhm.
sounds stupid, and what I mean is, if I had to tell you, like your project, for instance, which I always loved, right? And I talk straight. I always said, the budget is a bit expensive, especially for that time,
Hmm.
but the concept works. Why
Hmm.
does it work, right? Because whether it's set where you said it or in this world, it relates. People can relate to it, right? So I think the story works to everybody.
Hmm.
You know, that's why I always liked about the project. It's not just the project. There was more thought behind it,
Hmm.
right? It takes place in here, but it could work here, could work here because we're people, right?
Right.
And people have problems and people have issues and stuff like this. So I try to kind of work on that. Then, you know, uh, a Van Damme kicking ass, like, you know. So I
Right.
try to do something a little different where if somebody has a question, I know how to answer it and I have a solution for the problem.
Right. Right.
That's kind of what I went by because, like I said, when we used to buy films at the time was you read a script, they might have a director, they might have an action star or somebody attached, and you buy it based on that. It was always pre-buys,
Hmm.
right? Because I have to buy minimum 75 movies for the year, so I gotta buy. But
Yeah.
when you're picking 75 out of 1,000, which 75s do you take? You have some hits, you have some misses, right? So
Hmm.
I'm trying to make it work because I know the way the industry is now. Would it work for streaming? Would it work for theatrical? Would it work? And I'm hoping that somebody sees what I see.
Right. Yeah.
But like I said, the five people I send it, they're all different. I send it to my financer, like I said, in Asia. I send it to one distributor. I send it to a manager, not an agent. I send it to an actress,
Hmm.
and I send it to a friend. That's it.
Okay.
One of each, right?
I'm gonna write that down when I review this again later because those are good points. Yeah.
Well, because I mean, I asked people, who's a good actor for this kind of genre, and they gave me a name. They go, "Oh, you'll never get this person." Then that's who I'm sending it to,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? I
Yeah.
started off at the top, which
Yeah.
is crazy, right? But I figured, you know what? Maybe they like the material.
Right.
You never know, right?
Well,
And
if I am picking up now more on what you mean by this, the it's like in the 80s and maybe early 90s, the name kind of led the story. It didn't matter, what the concept was that much. If it had
yeah,
Schwarzenegger in it or if it had Van Damme in it, people were going to get excited, just because there was that kind of star
yeah,
loyalty. But now, I mean, it's not that the name doesn't matter, it does, but it has to be married to a concept that that is highly valued now. Like someone's going to have to look at that concept and go, "Oh yeah, if we put Keanu Reeves in this, this is going to fly."
yeah,
But it wouldn't fly if it was just Keanu Reeves and it was like a not well thought out concept.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that's kind of what I tried to do, right?
gotcha.
Work more on the concept. Hopefully, the story is strong enough,
Hmm.
and when I pitch it, people like it. But I'm trying to sell the concept more than the project itself.
Yeah, the buildup of or the release of ideas into the ether or to specific people after a few years of things being kind of held back. So it's interesting to
Yeah.
see where these things light off, because
Oh
there
yeah.
is I think there is some enthusiasm for getting things going as much as there are some challenges that are kind of around the industry right now because people know something has to be done, and there is a that lag has created kind of some momentum around partnerships. I think people trying to get
Yeah.
things going. So I hope that works for both of us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I know. I'm not young. I always tell people like I might go watch a movie here and there, but I'm not like my kid. My kid will go all the time. If
Right.
there's something of interest, he's gonna go with all his friends, right? So he was my worst critic, my best critic.
Yeah.
I would like when I came up with the concept. He goes, "Oh, I don't know that." He goes, "I don't think it's gonna work." So let me come back to you, right?
Hmm.
And during FM, I was talking with a distributor friend of mine. Asked me what I'm working on. I told him. He goes, "Oh, that's so silly." He goes, "That's stupid." He goes, "That's not gonna work." I said, "Okay, I got something." Right? Because to me, I go the other way, right?
Yeah.
So then when
Yeah.
I came home, I started working on it. And I said, okay. I know what he means, and I get what they mean. Like I limited my target by the way I pitched it, so now let me go and So then when I started writing it, I would send it to my son, and he'll say, "Dad, this is stupid. This is not a bad idea. But what if you do this, right?" So he was giving me some ideas,
Yeah.
and then by the last draft, he goes, "Oh, he goes, I would go see this." He
Right.
goes, "Oh, he goes, all my friends." He goes, "They would love this." He goes,
Yeah.
"How can I help?" Right? So then I told him what I'm, how I'm going to pitch it, like, with the wedding invitations and stuff. He goes, "That's amazing." He goes, "Let me start handing them out for you." I said, "No, no, not yet. I'm not ready for that, right?"
Right.
So then I spoke to a friend of mine who owns a big agency in Baltimore, advertising agency, and he writes too, and he's pitched me some projects and asked me what I'm working on. I gave him my pitch and stuff, and within 2 days, he read the script. He gave me a commitment. They'll do all the marketing. He goes, "We'll." I mean, they do Under Armour, Coke. They're a big company. He goes, "We'll get behind this." He goes,
Amazing.
"This will be amazing, right?" So we'll see.
These are the things that are becoming the trends that, the older crowd like ourselves take for granted.
Yeah,
And I say that having watched that unfold, like I think when Markiplier first came out, or some of the guys that were like that on YouTube that were talking about video games, and I think, how can you sit there and watch a guy talk about video games? Video games are for playing, right? And
yeah,
this is back before it became a big deal. And and now you realize it's all kinds of kids. There are people, millions. They're some of the biggest channels going. And I think the other one, this is going to sound really ridiculous. I said jokingly at the table one night to my 10-year-old, I said, I don't get it sometimes because I think sometimes you could do like a video about a talking toilet, and it would, some people can make that take off and other people can, rack their brain trying to put
yeah,
content in. And he laughed. He said, "Yeah, there's a series of videos that's getting like tens of millions of views that's about a talking toilet." And he showed me because he was well familiar with it.
yeah.
So
No, it works. I mean, we had that on our show. We had a talking toilet. You
yeah.
know,
Oh, okay.
And-
Yeah.
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 One of the shows we did, we had a talking toilet.
Yeah.
But it's incredible because I'm too old to think like them,
Yeah.
but I think I'm smart enough to listen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I did, which is now that you read the script and you liked it, who do you see in it,
Right.
right? And he goes, "Well, I'm going to throw a name out there." He goes, "But you have no chance." I said, "Okay, give me that name."
Yeah.
Within 3 days, I had the personal address, and I sent her an invitation to the
Oh,
home. So
wow.
I'm hoping, whether she likes it or not, at least it gets to her house. It's a wedding invitation. I'm opening it. We'll see where it goes, right?
Right.
But I said, and the agency I send it to, they're pretty big. They do one of the biggest TV shows around right now. And when the agent got it, well, the manager got it, he goes, "How do I get involved in this?"